Before you walk down the aisle, advice for those of you who are about to get married. I'm going to talk about this topic because it's so essential to know before you take the plunge. All of us have different perceptions as how we see marriage in our mind's eye. How we see married life will be dependent on how we were brought up and as to what we saw and experienced during childhood and growing up. It will be seen through the experiences that we had with our own parents, our extended families, and then later friends who are already married. We will also picture how marriages are or can be through movies and learn to differentiate between good marriages and horrible ones and the ones in between. Some of us may not want to get married at all, preferring to live together, whilst others may have wanted to get married all their lives, making that important and life-changing decision since childhood. There are no doubt that there are a lot of different types of marriages, arranged ones, conventional ones, and unconventional ones. So it's important to know what you perceive as the ideal union which you see as marriage. Firstly, I would say that if you come from a culture whereby you are happy to have an arranged marriage, then so be it. I hope that you are as agreeable as your parents are towards this idea. And I do sincerely wish you all the success that your marriage is happy and that your union is going to be a cherished one between the both of you. I say this with all sincerity because I realize and I'm aware that depending on where you are and which culture you belong to, arranged marriages are the norm, and that choice will not be your own choice of who you end up with. You may have a choice as to which person amongst the chosen ones, as sometimes there is a selection for you to choose from. But other than that, your partner is already pre-selected amongst the selected group of potential partners. Upon reflection, if you do have that choice, this talk still pertains to you, although it may be slightly more restricted. But having a choice, however limited, is certainly better than having none. Therefore, this message goes out to people who get to choose their partners. Personally, I have been through a facade of a marriage and then a real one, which is the one I have now. I'm much wiser partially because my marriage has lasted 23 years and because I've seen so many marriages and have vicariously lived through other marriages of friends and family members. I feel I know what the essence of marriage is about. I am no marital expert, and as I always say, I am a work in progress. But I continue to see what marriage shouldn't be about. So I have things to say which I feel are important to hear if you haven't already considered these aspects yourself. One of the most essential factors is that all of us will bring into the relationship, any relationship with a significant other, baggage of our past in relation to our views about what marriage is and isn't, and what should happen in a marriage and what shouldn't. Don't be naive, as we will all start with this set of beliefs. Both partners will come with their equal share of belief systems. However, if you chose each other, there would have been some chemistry to begin with and some common ground that you both share. Though not all relationships start this way. You may have started the relationship hating each other, then discovering each other's worth, which led to the both of you falling in love. Nonetheless, you are wanting to get married, so let's get down to business. Number 1, please try to, if you're able, to live with each other for a while. The reason being is that you can't hide your flaws when you have to live with each other on a daily basis. It'll be a test run of sorts to see if both of you can handle each other's quirks, habits, and daily routines, whatever they may be. If you don't believe in living together before marriage, then make sure you at least ask each other questions to see what your partner is like at home. Tell them to be honest and to not censure their answers, but to honestly give you the answers to your questions. In that way, you will be able to somewhat gauge what the other person is like as how they like to live. Are they OCD or are they untidy? Or how do they like their space to be? You could even ask what they think about the homes of mutual friends or even go to a furniture store to see what their tastes are, basically finding out how similar or dissimilar they are with your tastes and preferences. Number 2, before marriage, ask all your questions like whether your partner wants children, how many, the preferred sex of the child or children? If they don't, how will you take it? What are your deal breakers? Do you really need to have a child? And if you do, and your partner doesn't, for heaven's sake, don't compromise for their sake and sacrifice what you want, as you will resent them later in life if you are completely honest with yourself. Or then again, you might not. You may love them so much you are willing to sacrifice your own needs, but know that there will always be something missing, a hole in your life that you will try to fill with other things. Normally with fur, kids, and if not, you will almost always try to fill the gap with doing other things to fulfill that hole. Trust me, I've seen it happen. If you can't have children but agree that you both want one or more, will you adopt, or does that mean that it will become a deal breaker, as one of you desperately needs a mini-me who originates from you? What about the concept of other methods like IVF, etc.? Number 3, with children, talk about circumcision and what that means to each of you. Talk about the religion of the child if the two of you belong to different faiths. Must the child adopt one faith, or should you leave the religious beliefs of your child or children to their own when they grow up and can choose for themselves? Is it okay for them to be atheists? What about if one or more turn out to be non-binary or gay, lesbian, etc.? Would that be okay? Would both of you support them? Or what would happen? Number 4, education for your children, if you choose to have them. What type of educational setting do you both agree to? Public or private? Religious or not? Homeschooling or general educational settings? Do you both want them to have further education? How strict will you be with education concerning homework, school attendance, grades, etc.? What kind and how much discipline do you both think a child should have, and to what extent? What about extracurricular activities? Are those things important? What are your thoughts about sports and what they eat? Discuss parenting styles adopted by the both of you as you would prefer. A lot to think and talk about, don't you think? I could go on, but let's start with these basic questions. Number 5. As I've just talked about children, let's talk about animals. What are your experiences with having animals? Dogs, cats, birds, rabbits, snakes, fish, whatever. Must you have animals in your life? Or does one of you hate animals? Or are you allergic, etc.? If you do want to have animals, how many do you want to have and why? Number 6, finances. How are you both intending to set this up? Will you have a joint bank account with both contributing to one account for bills, food, etc.? Or did you want to have one joint account and 2 separate accounts? What do you both think of savings? Is your money mindset compatible? Or if not, are you both willing to compromise? What about if you had children? Who would look after them and sacrifice time off work? What if one of you is out of work? What are thoughts surrounding that situation? Are you willing to let the other person find something whilst you hold the fort? Or are you someone who is wanting the person to find anything in the meantime to supplement the income till they find the job they want? Are any of you intending to become an entrepreneur? How will you feel if your partner just wants a normal, mediocre job? What are your general belief systems about money? Are you ambitious and want to attain wealth together? Or is money something to get you guys the essential things in life, but you are both not too concerned about your wealth creation? How do you feel about investments? Boy, there are a lot of things to cover once you get talking and start exploring. Number 7, extended family, in-laws or outlaws. Depending on your background and current relationship with your own family and with your partner's family, how much time and effort do you want to put in or are expected to by your partner to put in? For some cultures, it is expected that you spend a lot of time with your partner's family, and some cultures you may even need to sacrifice time with your own family to invest in your in-laws. Can you do this? Would you be happy to change the norms of that culture and do your own thing? How would your partner feel? And what are their expectations? Interference in your lives. A lot of in-laws, whether it be mother-in-law or father-in-law or both, could want to run different aspects of your lives and tell you what their expectations are. How far are you or your partner willing to allow this to happen? Number 8, disagreements. How you quarrel, fight, and settle problems as they come up. Talk about these things. Do you believe in sleeping angry? Or how do you intend to resolve issues? Who is the level-headed one and calmer one between the both of you? What are your conflict styles like? And how do you handle conflict and conflict resolution? Do you tend to get aggressive? Are there any tendencies for either of you to get physically violent? Do you already see warning signs but ignore them, hoping that they go away in time? That to me is already the brightest red flag warning to run the opposite direction. How do you see each other's parents handling conflicts of their own? That would be a good indicator of what is to come if you see some of the same tendencies in your partner. Number 9, home. What are your shared visions of what home looks like? I've touched on decor and general living standards, but I'll talk about this again. Is it going to be a rented house or apartment that the both of you prefer? Is it a house that you own with a picket fence? Or is it a modern home with all the modern amenities? Does your home have to be of a certain size? Does it have a garden? Is it near a park, a beach, or in the middle of the city or countryside with hardly any neighbors? 10. Your social lives. What does your social lives look like? Do you have couple friends whom you like to hang out with? Do you believe that you need time apart with your respective friends? Or are you glued to the hip with each other? Do you both love socializing and hosting? Or are you homebodies or a mixture of both? It's important to know each other's boundaries. Lastly, your sex life. That's not the be-all and end-all, but it's important. Do you both believe in monogamy, or do you prefer open relationships? Hopefully by this stage, you have also discussed your sexual preferences. If not, great time to do so now. All these aspects and more, believe it or not, makes or breaks relationships. A lot of times we don't find out till we find out, after we've made the commitment to be married. To tell you that I've covered everything for you to think about is certainly going to be untrue, as life is about things that will challenge us. It's about the unknown and unexpected. And trust me, even when you think you know, it still manages to throw curveballs your way. But whether your relationship stands the test of time or unravels quickly, it boils down to how well you know yourself and each other. And believe it or not, the questions above are a good starting point. Both my husband and I spoke at length on all those aspects I touched on before we got married, and it helped us navigate through a lot of circumstances of what will or may happen and how we as a couple would approach them as they inevitably came along. We met with unexpected hurdles, made mistakes, had challenges, experienced loss, disappointments, and times of great uncertainty. But we are still together, mainly because we talk all the time and keep talking about changes as and when they happen. However, luckily, before all this, we already spoke and anticipated those topics that I've touched on. Yes, I did say touched on, and you might say to me, but you spoke about them at length. And I would agree to disagree with you because I couldn't possibly go to the lengths of what could potentially happen, though I have seen through experience what couples have gone through. What some couples can endure, others will not have the capacity nor energy to bother. But knowing these things as a matter of fact will help guide you in the beginning stages. Apologies if I have burst your bubble of happiness and made you touch base with reality. But relationships, particularly marriage, are all about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's why they say, for better or worse. because if you live long enough together, you will be blessed to experience both ends of the coin. So good luck on your journey, and I hope this talk provokes your thinking or gives you food for thought for a good conversation between yourselves before you embark on this wondrous journey of the world of marriage. If this has even helped one couple or a few of you, I would have attained my mission. Again, I cannot cover all aspects of marriage, as this would have become an audiobook instead. Take it however it resonates for you, but I hope it helps you and your partner for better or worse, as they say.